Today at Crazed Performance Repair, we have a 2012 Buick Verano that has a bad piston ring scenario. This is actually a pretty common problem on multiple brands and companies. It must be a situation with the manufacturer of piston rings that's maybe having a problem. There's just a lot of cars that are having these piston rings where they have excessive blow-by, excessive oil consumption, situations that are causing a lot of problems. Now, these vehicles, you're going to want to check if your vehicle has this issue where you have a lot of blow-by, a lot of oil consumption, things like that. Be sure to check TSBs, Technical Service Bulletins. Your vehicle might apply for a coverage through the dealership for getting it taken care of without you having to pay anything. Even if it's after warranty, you might still be able to get it covered. This particular customer tried on his vehicle, but somehow his vehicle is excluded, even though it does have a TSB on this particular vehicle. Somehow his VIN is not included in it. He tried multiple dealers and had no success. So this particular 2012 Verano has a Ecotec 4-cylinder engine in it, and what I have here is a pile of parts that I'm going to need to do this job. Now, head bolts is a must. They are what's called a stretch bolt, so they're disposed of after you pull them off. Cylinder head obviously has to come off. This is going to be a series project. I'm going to do several videos on this particular vehicle. We have spark plugs because why not put spark plugs in? We have to pull the head off. You might as well replace the plugs. This is the oil filter itself. And then right here I have some MOLLE or MOLLE or however you want to pronounce it, piston ring set for this vehicle. Now this is the standard set. I did take my bore gauge and look into the bores of the cylinders, and they don't look like they have any kind of scratching or scoring that's on the excessive side. So hopefully we're good to go there. And hopefully these things properly fit. Now I'm going to show what we're going to do and whether these will fit or not. I may have to go to the dealership to get the proper size. So keep that in mind. These may or may not work, but they're cheap and I'm willing to try them, not from the dealer. Now this is a engine gasket set or head gasket set. The oil pan does not appear according to the book to have any kind of oil pan gasket, so I guess we'll find out when we get there. I'll pull the pan off, and if there's a gasket then I guess I'll have to find it, but if not, it's going to be RTD. So let's go ahead and get started first thing with diagnosing and how you know you have this problem. Okay, so the quickest way to check for this piston ring issue is actually by going off of blow-by. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the vehicle up, and then we're going to go to this, and then I'm going to explain exactly what you should see versus what this vehicle is doing because it has the piston ring problem. So as you can see, the car actually runs perfectly fine right now, or at least it appears to. Looking at this thing, it is shaking a little bit, and that's shaking because it doesn't have as good a compression as it once did, like when it was new. The ticking that you can hear, that's actually this high pressure fuel pump making all the racket. This thing is just naturally noisy. On any vehicle that has a high pressure fuel pump, they naturally make a lot of noise. Now in order to check for the blow-by, you're going to want to go off of the oil cap here. So normally if I pull this off, it's going to just kind of float over the surface, kind of like that, right? And that's normal actually, but you hear that? So this thing is literally blowing out of here. Now normally, if this vehicle was running properly and it had good piston rings, what you would have is a situation where if I take this piece of paper and put it on top of here, it would literally just flutter on top of the cap, may even pull down against the hole for where the oil cap goes. But since this one has bad rings, watch what happens. But you can see how it's blowing the paper away. And that's because it has excessive blow-by. It pushes my hand away slightly. So this is the easiest, quickest way to tell. See, it blows the paper away from it. And that's where you know you have a problem. Okay, so some of the first few steps I got to do here is I got to analyze the situation. So I am going to be putting rings in here, but I have to evaluate, is it worth leaving the motor in, or is it going to be easier to pull the motor out? So some of the things that I'm going to do to consider that is how easy the pan is to get at, while the motor support itself up here, all kinds of various things like that. Now, I know I have to disconnect the battery, so I will go ahead, disconnect the battery quick, and then we're going to go get digging into, I'm going to pull the cover off here, and I'll start evaluating what I want to do to actually do this job, because I have not done this particular vehicle yet. So it's always best to look over what the most effective and efficient way to do the job is going to be. Alright, so after some evaluation of the situation as far as whether I want to pull the whole assembly out or leave it in the vehicle, I've decided to leave it in the vehicle. It looks as though it's going to be much easier to leave in. So the reason I've decided that is the motor mount itself, or what supports the engine and transmission. There's one going to the side of the vehicle on the unibody, the main structure of the body, over on this side that holds up the transmission. And then we have this one here that holds up the engine. And the one that holds up the engine is not attached to the cylinder head at all. And because it's not attached to the cylinder head at all, I'm able to remove the cylinder head and access the top half of the pistons without having to unbolt that mount. So I can leave those two mounts in place while I can drop the cradle and remove all the stuff underneath easily enough, if I need to even, to remove the oil pan in order to get these piston rings out. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start at the top here. I'm going to remove everything that doesn't require draining fluids, and then I'll get the hoist set up and we'll be pulling all the fluids out and getting started on getting the rest of it apart. So this is actually an adapter for plugging in the vehicle, and I'll just put that aside for now because obviously I don't care about that. But the rest of it is normal wiring. You may or may not have a block heater. That's totally up to where you're located. So we'll go ahead and get the rest of this undone. Now when it comes to pulling these fuel pumps out, these high pressure pumps, be sure to check your manufacturer. Some of them require new lines and some of them don't for those fuel lines, the high pressure side of it. Also, be sure to get this gasket if you don't have it in the kit. And then be careful when you're pulling it out because there's a plunger here that is supposed to ride on the cam, and it might fall out when you pull it out. And then this O-ring right here, it can be tough. I had to use a screwdriver and I just lightly pried and worked it while I pulled it this way until the O-ring let go and came out. It was stuck in there a little bit, and in fact it's a little loose now, so it must be stretched out. So I'm going to end up replacing that as well. So you can see I have removed this plastic cover here, and I'm to the point where I can start draining fluids. So I'm going to go ahead and work on draining fluids. Once I get the fluids drained, I have a transmission mount that's meant for the transmission and engine moving, the rocking motion of the transmission engine on the front and the back, and both of them go to the transmission. I got to take the bolts out for that. I'm going to have to pull the cradle down, at least on this side. So I might actually leave those in. We'll see. I'm actually going to leave them in for a little bit because I might end up trying to pull this just down enough so I can get the oil pan out. I might be able to sneak this oil pan out. If I do get the oil pan out, I know the rods are going to stay within this region, and I'll be able to get the rod cap bolts to pull that thing out of there. Because all I have to do is get the rod cap bolts off. If I can get those off, I'm golden, and I can push the pistons out the top. I'm trying to leave as much intact as possible, and I'll show you what I do when I do the timing gears. But I'm going to attempt to leave the timing gears alone as well, in hopes that I can not have to mess with the cam too much. I might actually mark them and play with some things. I have to see what kind of tensioner system it has for that, though. Ultimately, it's all about saving time, but yet doing the job right at the same time. So, alright, so I got to comment on a couple things. First, I pulled the radiator cap off here. That was to allow the antifreeze to drain because it was just sitting there not draining out of the petcock due to the vacuum that was on the system from trying to drain out. But that's not the more important thing I need to address right now. So as you can see, I have the camshaft exposed here. But the thing I want to get at and show you guys, I'm going to give you a closer look here. And it's the color of everything inside here. So the aluminum color, or this color here, this is the iron itself, but this kind of color is normally on all the aluminum, which is what the head's made out of. Now you can see obviously it's shiny here, but that's where the gasket was, so that don't count. But you see everywhere, pretty much everywhere on here, it's almost this black color. And that black coloration is carbon deposits. And the reason there's so many carbon deposits in here isn't just because of lack of oil changes. Normally lack of oil changes will build up a very thick film of those carbon deposits, but this is a thin, very dark film. And what that tells me is that the rings are blowing past, the carbon is blowing past the rings, and it's just caking everything with this dark colored tar. And that is another sign of the rings having an issue. So if it's really black like this, it's been driven for long enough with the rings failing to cause a lot of blow-by, to cause issues inside here. So just a little note that I wanted to make sure I cover. I'm going to go ahead and start pulling all these hoses and extra stuff off that is on the top here that I can start pulling now that the cooling system is draining. And then we'll go ahead and try and get the cylinder head off. I still have to take the exhaust manifold off. I'll do that from up top here, I believe. And then we will address the timing chain and pull the head off. Okay, so at the moment, I have brought it as close to top dead center as I can on cylinder number 1, where it's on the compression stroke. You see I got the 2 cam lobes here going this direction. The marks that are on the timing gears do not really line up with anything very well. So this is going to be a very interesting situation to manipulate, but what I've decided to do here is I'm going to take and I'm going to mark the chain to the gear and keep tension on the chain all the time with a bungee cord. And I have a little trick to be able to do this, and I can remove the tensioner and allow myself the slack to get these pulleys off, pull the head off, etc., etc. But in order to have a good position that I can be able to reassemble later, I am not going to be able to just leave it on top dead center. I think, in fact, I'm off top dead center by a little bit. Let's see here. Okay. Oh, I am pretty much on top dead center. So what I'm doing is I'm more concerned about where the camshaft is. Because if you have the camshaft in the wrong position, what will happen is as soon as you take the bolts loose and you get everything out of place, they'll go flop, they'll move to a different position. And you want to find a position where it's a neutral position on both camshafts, and there's a little bit of slack in the chain, so I'm able to do that. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of going back and forth a little bit to make sure it doesn't try and go one way or the other. It tries to go back right there, but not like overly tight. And then I'll go over to this one. Look at this one too. Okay, so I'm pushing on that set of springs and that set of springs, the equal amount. So that's where a nice neutral position of that cam is. And then this one's got the same kind of deal. It's got these springs and those springs pushing equally, just on the opposite side of the roller for the rocker. So that's the position I'm going to leave it in. Now I'm going to go ahead and take the tensioner, which is on the back here, off in order to, pull it out. In order to relieve the tension from the chain, I'm also going to remove this guide and these guys here. Okay, so this cap for the cam here, I figure I'm going to remove it. I might end up taking this cam and just lifting it and tilting it and moving it to get the chain loose. I'm not sure if these are stretch bolts holding the cam in, so I don't want to pull those out if I can help it. But to remove this thing was quite a challenge. Now, you definitely don't want to wedge anything in the center here, the crease here. You can see there's like a lifter kind of a thing for the fuel pump that is in here, and it obviously goes back and forth. This system is sealed with a version of an anaerobic sealer, and I'll show you that when I go ahead and do the assembly of it. But in order to remove this, it has these dowels or these centering deals that are stuck in here on these two here. It took me a little while to figure it out. I ended up putting a socket in here to get it started, and then I decided the best way to do this is to put a bolt in here, and I was just using a real small hammer to lightly tap on the bolt area here, and then I just went back and forth between a couple of them to slowly walk this up, as you can see in the video. But I got that out of there, so now I can go ahead and put this cap with it and keep the cap and parts together, and I'll just go put this somewhere aside. That way I can continue on with the rest of this project. Alright, so now I'm moving on to the exhaust manifold. I'm going to go ahead and get this zipped off. First thing I have to do is pull the heat shield off, and then I can get at all the bolts for it. Once I get that done, then I'll be moving on to the timing components a little bit more concentration on those, and work through that. Alright, so as you can see, I got one of the cams out. I'm going to end this episode at that. You might have noticed, I don't know, it was probably going pretty quick and you probably didn't see it, but if you did notice, the chain did jump at one point on the rear sprocket. What I'm going to end up doing is going to the book and finding the proper lineup scenario. If I have to buy a tool, I have to buy a tool, but I don't think this one's going to require that because it does have marks in it. They just don't seem to line up with anything, at least not from what I'm visually seeing. That situation is going to be a little bit interesting to try and get that lined up. But when the time comes, I'll go to the book, I'll figure it out, I'll get it to line up. Now, I did take one bolt off one of the cam phasers. I'm hoping it's not a torque yield bolt. If it is, I'll have to replace it. I'll find out when I look that up as well. With that, like, share, subscribe, and as always, I hope to see you on another video. you guys will get a chance to see the rest of the process. Next time I will have it completely apart and probably start putting it together on the next video. So stay tuned for that, and make sure to hit the notification bell so that you can be notified of the next episode.